Hello everyone. Yes, we are live here on our webinar platform and also on SME Banking TV. And for our viewers that are watching us right now on YouTube, so if you would like to ask questions to our speaker and participate in our discussion, please register by the link you see in the stream description. So, welcome to our webinar. My name is Olena Gryniuk. I'm CEE Director at the SME Banking Club, and I will be your host today. And today we will talk about biometrics and how it can help in the creation of a smooth customer experience during the process of digital customer journeys. And also, what are the advantages of usage of biometric solutions compared to other methods? My guest today is Wiktor Jaszczak, CEE Director at Facephi, a company specializing in the digital identity solutions. Welcome, Wiktor.
Welcome, Olena. Welcome, everybody.
All right, before we go to the topic, let me very shortly mention some organizational information. So, our webinar is planned for 45 minutes. We start from the presentations, and after that we will have a Q&A session, and we'll be able to answer your questions. So please type your questions in the chat even during the presentation. And we are recording this webinar, so right after we finish, you will receive the link to the video and to the end presentations as well. So this is it from the organizational point of view. Let's go to our topic. Biometrics. So yes, it is becoming more and more popular in various sectors and in banking as well, in general in the financial sector. And we do see banks and other financial companies implementing biometrics in their digital customer journeys. And today we would like to share with you some results of our joint study, which we conducted for the here in the Central Eastern Europe region for the digital customer journeys for SME and business customers. So we have just finished it, and after we finish the webinar, even during the webinar, I will give you the link to the study. You will be able to download and read the results in more detail. Well, if to start, we asked financial organizations, these were banks and also fintechs in 10 countries in the Central Eastern Europe, how they use biometrics at the moment and what are their plans for the future. And here I brought several numbers which I would like to share with you, and also let's discuss it during the Q&A session. Well, the first one is that, I mean, in general, this is 45% of the banks and financial organizations in the region that implemented digital customer onboarding for SME and business customers. And 36% of them, so the ones who have this digital customer onboarding, use biometrics in this journey. Another interesting number here is that 50% of the customers do not finish their digital onboarding process because of the long process itself. So from the one point of view, it seems that what can be faster than a digital process and biometric authentication and verification, but still 50%, which I consider a huge amount of customers, just do not finish it and never actually become a customer. And I would like also to discuss, Wiktor, with you these numbers, because I think depends on the solution itself. You know, this journey can be different, because I mean, having even my experience, when you need to scan your face several times because it doesn't work from the first time, or or when you have to, I don't know, blink or wink or something, do kind of unnatural things when using the biometric in the application, you can really skip it and and stop using. And from the 65% of the financial organization that haven't implemented biometrics for their business customers yet, 57% of them plan to do this during the next several years. Here, I can also, I wanted just to bring one example here from the Central Eastern Europe. One of the first banks that implemented digital onboarding for business customer, meaning not only for the sole entrepreneur, but also for the company when you have several owners, was ING Bank in Poland. So they did it before the pandemic. It was 2019. So they implemented digital customer onboarding with the usage of biometrics. So after the application for opening a business account, a customer and owner of the company has to pass. So now it works as well, the biometrics verification, and after it was done, then the agreement was uploaded to the online banking system, and the customer was to sign it. So this also was the first bank here in the region that implemented, also 4 years ago, opening of business account at Selfie. So, and we do see more and more examples in the region. If we look at this year compared to the previous one, it is a 10% increase in the number of banks and financial companies that implemented digital onboarding for business customers. And another number that I would like also to discuss, Wiktor, with you and with all of you as well. So please share your comments and questions in the chat. Is that 77% of the financial organizations in the region encountered different type of fraud during the last 2 years. 77%, which is the here, if we talk and pay attention to what biometrics can help and can bring here, is the identity theft accounted 41% and 27% of the organization account takeover. So these are the numbers from our study, and the ones that I would like to discuss in the second part of the webinar. And Wiktor, now I'm passing the word to you to share your experience in the biometric solutions, and then let's discuss.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for the introduction. So my name is Wiktor. I represent Facephi in the region, in the Central Eastern Europe region. After this intro from Olena, I would like to share more of the background on the biometrics, our experience, and how we see the use cases mainly in banking. But before that, maybe just a quick intro on the company, because we are quite present in the market and we have very good experience across the globe. So we are part of the Facephi EMEA, so the team that is working in this region from Spain, from South Europe, Central Eastern Europe as well, UK, and Middle East. But the company is originally from Spain, and our biggest footprint is in LATAM, where Facephi is the market leader in terms of identity verification. And that's where we specialize in. So verifying identity with the use of biometrics. And we are the company with the largest number of banks in the portfolio. So we have seen projects where facial biometrics were implemented in mobile web, but also ATM banking. And if you see below in the slide, we go also above other verticals. So not only financial industries implementing this kind of technology, but we have queries from other companies in insurance, in health, in public administration, for example, in verifying pensioners, in sports events, or in access management. So the use cases really go wider and wider. Some of the clients that I can show today that we work with would be most notably Santander, CaixaBank, or HSBC. And for other verticals, for example, Samsung Hospitals, LATAM Airlines, or crypto companies. So obviously, I showed you that the biometrics are applied in different verticals, not only in financial, but today, topic of the webinar, forces us to discuss banking use cases. And of course, if we consider banking use cases, biometrics can be applied for KYC and AML compliance. So any processes that will require know your customer procedures. It will be implemented for anti-fraud schemes or age verification, where you need to make sure that only people above 18 years old can access the services, or digital customer onboarding. So one of the most common use cases, of course, new user onboarding, and that would be a new account opening in a bank or in a fintech. If we go with the process step by step, of course, first part would be scanning the identity document. Second step would be facial capture with liveness check. So we need to compare the face with the identity document, but also check if it's a real person onboarding. In the background, the organization can do a lot of checks, including document verification and also government databases. But this is as much as a theory I can show you, but I would like to also present you a quick demo of how this process can look like from user perspective, how it can be quick and seamless. Allow me just to share my screen very quickly. Share my screen from the mobile. I guess you can see my screen now with the phone. You can see the phone now and our identity platform, where we can see all onboardings happening at the same time. So first step in the process, obviously, I'm from Poland, so I will have Polish identity document. I will choose to go next and first to scan my identity from both sides. So the software asks me for both sides of the document, but the capture is automatic. And that will be followed by a selfie. And basically, that's how the process can look like from the user perspective. In here, this is our demo app that we just used for demo purposes, but it can imitate a banking app. We see all the data extracted from a document, pictures that were taken during the process, and we can see that we passed the liveness check, so it was a real person onboarding during the process. Let me go back to the slides. Yeah. So obviously the new user onboarding is quite common use case for biometrics. Most of us have used that for new account opening with new challenger banks or even with traditional banks now. But there is a second part to it. So how we ensure secure authentication, and we can do that also with biometrics. So not only use the same facial recognition for new account opening, but we can also do it to access our bank account, to approve transfers, basically to provide credentials to any type of sensitive operation that we want in the future. And that gives us instant access to the account, but also it's way secure. It provides seamless experience for the user, but also it's more secure for the organization as a bank or fintech. This is to speak about this is to replace passwords, because passwords are not really safe. If we consider how many services we have to log in every day, it's not only email, there is also private email, corporate email, some services online like maybe Salesforce or other CRM systems. We might need to remember 50 or even more passwords. And as we can see on the screen, the people are not really prone to invent very secure passwords. They can go really in an easy way. And NordPass just released a ranking of most commonly used passwords last year, and we can see they're not really innovative. The time to crack it goes mostly under 1 second. So if we think that we want to secure our systems, our companies with something secure, passwords should be either replaced or should be only one factor in the multi-factor authentication. There's also a website, Have I Been Pwned, where we can see if our email was included in data leaks around the world. But the same website has a feature where we can check if the password that we use was also included in the data leaks with logins. So I just checked for the purpose of this webinar. I just checked the password 123456, that it was used 38 million times before in the history of collecting this data. So we can see that really people like to do shortcuts. Strong passwords have to be really long. They have to contain letters, special signs, and numbers. So it can be really tiresome to remember them. You might also make a point that you already use biometrics in order to access your bank account and secure other operations, because all of us know device biometrics from our iPhones or other smartphones. So, for example, we can use Face ID to enter the phone. However, there is a recent guidelines from European Banking Authority, which was asked whether device biometrics, so biometrics that are implemented in the hardware, can they be used to access the account. ABA provided a very clear statement that unlocking a phone with unlocking of a mobile phone with biometrics, so for example, facial recognition or fingerprint, cannot be considered a valid strong customer authentication method. And there are a few reasons for that. First of all, if we consider device biometrics on our iPhone, if we fail with the facial recognition, that the phone will ask us then to provide a PIN. So really, the real security method in this use case is only our PIN. So if I know somebody else's PIN, I could still use his mobile phone. Furthermore, one device will allow to have multiple biometric patterns. So it can be somebody from my household, could be my friends. And if I unlock your phone, I can also add my own facial biometrics into the device and then access the account. Another point, very important, is that banks and fintechs have no control over the software if they use Face ID. So whatever Apple would do or any other mobile phone producer would do with this software, you have no control over that, and you cannot, there is no change. You cannot affect it in any way. Another point I would like to touch on, since I started the topic of security, how actually we do it. So how we ensure that the process of authentication with facial biometric is secure against any type of attacks and frauds. So first of all, the data is encrypted with encryption AES 256 and our own Facephi encryption. Data then is tokenized and converted into numerical patterns. At the end, it is time-stamped to make it impossible to reverse engineer. That whole process makes sure that the data collected from customers is secure, and there's no way that it could be reverse engineered if somebody actually put their hands on it. There is also a industry certificate that certifies company like us, biometrics vendors, whether their facial recognition software and is good enough against presentation attacks. So IBITA PAD certificate, IBITA presentation attack detection certificates, checks how the biometric software performs against any types of attacks with masks, with 3D mask or any other type of attempts. There are two levels, level 1 and level 2. And if you go on the IBITA website, you can check if your current vendor has this kind of certification implemented. The last thing I would like to touch on, because if we do onboarding, we have to scan the document and we have to provide selfie. We need to make a liveness check. So in some systems, we will be asked to make movements on the screen, to follow the dot, to maybe nod or smile. This is to provide liveness checks. So we need to make sure that the live person is doing the operation. But there are two different types of liveness tests. One is passive, the one that we are using, and one is active. So what are the differences? In passive liveness, the user is not required to make any action in front of the camera. You just need to make a selfie and look in the camera, and that's it. That gives you better user experience. The process is quicker. It also gives higher onboarding rate, so less people will drop out because there is no misleading instructions on the screen. Second point, the process is also more secure for the organization, for the bank. It's called security by obscurity. So it means that fraudsters don't even know what we are looking for in the liveness check. They will not know how to cheat it. In active liveness, fraudsters can find out how to attack and defeat this kind of check, because even if we make multiple tests, so one would be winking, one would be smiling, nodding, or following a dot on the screen, after a few tries, the bad actors will find out what we know, what we are looking for, and they will be able to design some systems to cheat it. What is more, in active systems, they don't really evaluate other biometric parameters, for example, as the distance between lips and nose or distance between the eyes. Active liveness will check only if we make the correct movement to the left, to the right, or around the head. So it doesn't really give you a confidence whether the live person was onboarding. And last point, related to the IBITA certification that I mentioned before, current active systems have only level 1 of certification, whereas passive systems are more secure, and they can protect us for the level 2. So really more complex attacks that take more days and need more resources in the process. Olena, I think that's the part.
Yes. Thank you very much. Let's get back to our figures, and actually this is the time for the Q&A session. I do invite our attendees. Please ask your questions. Let's make this session interactive. I wanted to comment actually on your slides on the not safety, like say not safe way of usage of passwords in different type of verification and authorization. We we do also see that what is good actually is that 70% of the financial companies implemented biometrics as a method, as one of the method that the customer can choose when authorize their banking or financial transactions. And what is also good news is that 70% of the customers actually use it. So this is really a good news, and I think this move towards passwordless authorization. I wanted to get back. Let me put actually this my slides, which I would like Wiktor to comment. Is that this enormous number of frauds, and really the fact that the biggest number of the banks and financial organizations do face different type of frauds. How would you comment here and do some suggestions how biometrics can help here to improve this statistics?
Yeah, I think we are not really surprised by this very high percentage. That 77% of organizations encountered these type of frauds, and identity theft, account takeover are really common. Coming together with financial fraud, it's because fraudsters. I recently heard a very good phrase that being a fraudster is actually it's like a job. So they are really working on it 24/7. They're really innovative. They don't have regulation to comply, so they can find any loopholes in the systems, and then we really have to prevent them. Biometrics is very good, and it's a brilliant way to do it because it's really the only way to prove somebody's identity on the other's device. Pins or other methods, they will prove that you know the pin, that not really you don't know who was typing it. You will have certain level of you will be sure to a certain level, but not 100% sure. So biometrics can really authenticate users to 100% degree. And it can prevent all these type of frauds. So we can see a lot of frauds, especially frauds come first in the crypto space. So OTP frauds, accounting takeovers, man in the middle attacks. These type of frauds will not be prevented even with a very safe passwords. So we have to there has to be another layer to how we protect our our resources.
Let me get back to these previous numbers, which I also wanted to comment. This one on the 50% of the customers that do not finish the process. Your process that you showed in the demo looks like it takes several seconds. So I would probably ask you, could you give some kind of recommendations or tips which provider to choose when implement the biometrics?
Well, I think the dropout rate is really a pain point for the industry, because we hear from clients that they are not happy with their current vendors, and that's why they talk to us. There are a lot of issues here. So basically, there could be technical issues. There could be software issues. One of the things that I mentioned in the presentation is the liveness check. If we confuse our clients with what they have to do, in the process, then we will have very high dropout rate, and every lost customer in the process is actually we can translate that into money, right? Into the lost revenue. So I think liveness check is really one point where we can excel this process. So if it's easy, if it's passive, it's instant, so clients don't need to do anything. That will boost the onboarding rate. Also, I would say the OCR reading, so when we have to present the document in front of the camera, is another frustration point. And there could be some bad light and some other things. and also customers don't want to fill in their details. So we have to make it easy for them. When it comes to choosing the provider, I would suggest that banks should look at what kind of certifications companies have against the presentation attacks, against for anti-fraud, in which countries they operate, because yes, there are many vendors in the space, so you have to really be careful where you go, and then what kind of user experience they ensure. So is it easy to understand from the from the first second? Can you do it really quick? Because that will really speed up onboarding rate. We have statistics where we have taken banks from 63% onboarding rate to 97. So there can be really huge gap between what you have now and what you could have potentially.
All right. The other number that I wanted to discuss with you is this 57% of the companies that plan to implement biometrics. I think this should be good news for us all and for you as well. And the respondents, when we asked what are the methods they see kind of possible for implementations, the main two were named. It was biometric as a service or hybrid. What's other here? Any recommendations from your sides? Which method to choose? What are the pros and cons?
When it comes to biometric as a service or hybrid or even on premise, it really depends on the organization. We are flexible. We don't necessarily advise on a specific type of deployment they want to have. It can also depend on the regulation in a country. What we see, a lot of traditional banks prefer to have it on premise, and that's what we used to do. Newer, let's say, challenger banks or fintechs or crypto companies are more prone to do it in a SaaS model, because also that's what they are used to do. We have to consider always security and data protection, because we treat with sensitive data. Biometrics will touch on GDPR, on compliance regulation, on banking regulation. So a lot of things to consider. So you need to make sure, as a client, you're comfortable with what you're doing. So we don't necessarily recommend, but any process can be adjusted to the deployment. So then what you really do matters, and then you choose how you integrate it.
Okay. I would like to ask you for some use case and example from your side. Non-standard one, I would call it like this, because I know that you have very interesting use case of the usage of biometrics kind of out beyond the onboarding process. This was the implementation of the facial recognition at ITMs with CaixaBank in Spain. Please tell us more about this project.
Yeah, so in this project with CaixaBank, clients can go to the ATM, can withdraw money from the machine with the use of facial biometrics. So they still, because this is one-to-one verification, they still present the card into the machine, but can choose to either authenticate themselves with a PIN or with the password. So really, with a PIN or with a face. So really, the facial biometrics here can replace the password that we mentioned before. Can be problematic, or if somebody saw you typing it before, they will know your PIN, and if they have a card, they can do everything. So it can replace the PIN, therefore boosting your security, and it can be even quicker as a PIN. So they have to come to they firstly have to onboard previously in the banking app, obviously, so we can have the biometric pattern. But then when they come to the ATM They put the card in. The system will recognize their face, and they can access the the funds. Same. I mean, same.
This is kind of, is it limited?
Well, this will depend on the organization. What kind of deployment they want to have, but essentially, PIN is less secure, but it usually doesn't have limits. I mean, you can have limits on the withdrawal based on some, because they want to keep more cash in the machine, but not because how you authenticate it yourself. And we see more and more real life use cases. So we work also with AINA airport operator. You will be able to walk through the airport, going through the security gates or the boarding gates, just using your facial biometrics. So you don't need to show your boarding pass or anything. We also have this type of deployments into access management to stadiums. So really see there's a boost, and there are questions how biometrics can be implemented somewhere else in our mobiles for banking or for payments, right?
Yes, we discussed even the case when we recorded the SME banking conversations with Enrico, that it also can be used actually in banking premises for the employees as well, right? So out of the customer journey, let's say.
Yeah. I mean, well, banking employees will still be still wants to authenticate, right? Verify the users, because if fraudsters can access the banking internal banking systems, that would be really dangerous. So it could be used also for the employees, but also many other use cases, like in healthcare, to the, digital services, or even offline, where you go to the hospital. We have a project with Samsung hospitals, where you come in, the kiosk will recognize you and tell you where you need to go for a visit, or what is your prescription. So it also can, it will cut the queues in. It has many benefits.
And in this case, biometrics is used for these two factors authentication, right? I mean, as the only factor, or it's kind of a second, another factor? How does it work to the very end?
Well, we always suggest, the strongest security. So two-factor or multi-factor authentication should be applied. So whether this is facial biometrics could be with PIN, but we also suggest using, you could be using voice biometrics for that matter, especially when you want to do account recovery, because you lost your credentials or anything else. You can design a system where you provide facial biometrics and also voice to really prove your identity above any doubt. So we always suggest more factors.
All right. I see we don't have questions from our attendees. So then this will be the last question from my side to wrap up today's session. Which opportunities do you see here in the Central Eastern market for the usage of biometrics, as we see that a lot of companies would like to implement it?
Yeah. So what I see personally from conversations with banks and fintechs, obviously onboarding is a very common use case. We are very familiar with it. Most of the organizations have it or plan to implement it. Where I see the gap and opportunity also for us is using biometrics for authentication. So this is something still behind, but the awareness is growing that pins and passwords are not really secure. Also, the knowledge about device biometrics is growing. European Banking Authority released these guidelines, and this is spreading across the industry, that we should use something beyond that. So I think in here, when we want to log into the account or send a payment or maybe change the data inside the account, because that could be some of the risk factors. Why not choose facial biometrics? And if it's quick, then it will be very seamless.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for today's webinar, Wiktor. Thank you very much to our attendees. So as I mentioned, we will share with you the recording and the presentation and the study. So yeah, if you will have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at emails. And thank you once again, and see you next time.
Thank you as well. Bye.